The New York Islanders fall in overtime again, this time to the Montreal Canadiens. We'll have our key takeaways from the game. Plus, where are the Islanders in relation to the rest of the league with their salary cap situation? We've got that and more coming up on today's Locked On Islanders podcast.
You're Locked On Islanders, your daily podcast on the New York Islanders. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome, everybody, to the Wednesday edition of the Locked On Islanders podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I want to thank everyone who makes Locked On Islanders your first listen every day. Don't forget to subscribe on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts so you get new episodes as soon as they drop. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. You could start the season with a big return on FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet, and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Another tough loss for the New York Islanders, but another point, another loser point. And they do get frustrating after a while. And believe it or not, right now, 26 games into the season, the New York Islanders find themselves in 8th place or last place in the Metropolitan Division. That's the bad news. The good news, right now, they're 2 points out of 4th place. So it's unbelievably tight right now. The Rangers and Flyers have 27 points. The Penguins, 26. The Blue Jackets, 25. The Islanders, 25. The Islanders have played the most games, however, out of all of those teams. So, again, the Islanders don't play a bad game, but it's a lot of the same things that we've seen. And when I say that, I'm talking about a team that absolutely, doesn't play poorly, has their chances, can't finish, and if you don't score, you're not going to win. And look, the game-winning goal in overtime was absolutely fluky, okay? Nick Suzuki ends up putting the puck in the net, and, it kind of bounced off of the skate of Bo Horvat and came back to Suzuki in front of the Islanders' goal, and he's able to put it home, and that's the game winner in overtime. But, again, overtimes are not meant or not designed for the New York Islanders, or maybe I should say the New York Islanders are not designed for overtime. Their best player in overtime, the guy who can skate the best and who can give them the best outcomes, that's Matthew Barzal, and he's not here because, he's a really good skater, maybe the only elite skater on the Islanders, and without him, the 3-on-3 with all that room and all that space, it is hard for the New York Islanders to get much going offensively and to keep up with other teams that have guys like Nick Suzuki, Cole Caulfield, Patrick Laine, Juraj Slafkovsky, guys who have more skill and more speed than most of the forwards on the New York Islanders. This team, the way they are built, not really built to play 3-on-3 with a lot of space and a lot of speed needed to compete. So again, the Islanders make it to overtime, but can't end up with the win. Once again, they give up a goal when the other team has the power play. The penalty kill remains a problem for the New York Islanders. And as we talked about on yesterday's show, Patrick Laine able to play his first game with the Canadiens, and he scores on the power play. So again, the PK not helping the Islanders all that much. They gave up 1 goal in 2 chances. Obviously, the good news, J.G. Pageau and Casey Cizikas, both of whom were going to be game time decisions, they both ended up playing. So Dennis Cholowski and Pierre Engvall were the scratches. And unfortunately for the New York Islanders, the offense just not there. Now, the Islanders had 31 shots. So again, just like overtime has been a problem all year, and just like the penalty kill has been a problem all year, getting a lot of shots, but not being able to finish them has been a problem. And Anders Lee, pretty goal. He did a good job on that play, but the Islanders made Sam Montembeault look like a Vezina Trophy winner. And Montembeault made, 30 saves in 31 shots. Now, keep in mind, Montreal came into this game 29th in the league in goals allowed. You should be scoring more than 1 goal against a team that is that shaky defensively. And yet the Islanders couldn't. And the Islanders had 3 power play opportunities. And once again, the power play lets them down. So it was a difficult thing because so much of what we saw was, shall we say, familiar territory. And you just want more. I mean, Ilya Sorokin played a really solid game. Can't blame him for either of the 2 goals. Sorokin did what he needed to do. And, he can sue for non-support because the Islanders just can't get their offense going. And they need to do a better job with finishing. And yeah, okay, I know there's no Anthony Duclair. And I know there's no Matthew Barzal. But that isn't the cause of the problem, because even when those guys were there and those guys were healthy, the Islanders were still struggling to score goals. So something's got to give. This team, as it is currently constructed, needs more offensive talent, needs to finish, needs to play a better style of hockey. And I don't know if they have the horses to get it done on a consistent basis. There will be games when they get it done, but not on a consistent basis. And it is so frustrating to watch on a game in, game out basis. One other thing that I wanted to touch upon, Maxim Siplakov. I love watching him. I think he's going to be a really solid player. I think we're just seeing the beginning of what he could do. Right now he's on pace for about 10 goals this year and maybe 35 points or so. Again, I'm doing the math real quick in my head. But the one knock I have against him, in 26 games, he's got 20 penalty minutes, and they've all been minors. He's got to stop taking some of these really bad penalties that seem to haunt him far too often, and that is frustrating to say the least. So hopefully Siplakov can stay out of the box, and I think part of the reason for the penalties we're seeing from Siplakov, he's still getting used to the narrower ice surface. It's a wider surface in the KHL and in the international games. I think he is still adjusting to, the NHL style of play. I hope that is the biggest reason for his struggles with penalty minutes, and that going forward, we see less penalty minutes from Maxim Siplikov, because the potential for him to be a really, really good player is certainly there. Hero and GOAT of the game. The GOAT, I think, for me, is going to be the lack of team speed and the lack of finishing ability. And to me, that goes back to the way this team is built, and we'll talk more about that in our next segment. But, to me, that's the GOAT, that the Islanders just don't have enough speed and don't have enough skill to consistently finish and win hockey games. Hero of the game, I'm going to split it. I think you can go with Sorokin and you can go with Anders Lee, who had the goal. I'm going to give them a tie and give it to both of them. I'd love to hear what your thoughts are in the comments on YouTube, or, hit me up on X and let me know what you thought. But to me, Sorokin was solid, made some really big saves. Lee did a really nice job with his goal, played a solid game, tied for the team lead in shots. To me, a solid overall performance. So the problem is another loser point, which is what the Islanders seem to do best. Believe it or not, they now have 7 loser points in 26 games. That means that this Islanders team has 7 loser points and 9 wins. But it also means that they are 9-17 if you go straight wins and losses, and that's just not good enough to get you into the playoffs. I'm glad they're hanging around NHL 500 with the injuries being the way they are. But this team, if they have any hope of making the playoffs and making a run, they've got to be a lot better. All right, more to get to on today's show. We will have, The Athletic just came out with a ranking of how each of the 32 NHL teams are doing vis-a-vis the salary cap. What's the cap situation like? Let's see if you can guess where the Islanders came out in those rankings. We'll also have our weekly farm report on all things Bridgeport Islanders. And for our Islanders birthday of the day, the brother of a famous first overall pick in the draft, who was a first-round pick by the Islanders in 1994, but had his career tragically cut short by concussions. Let's see if you can guess who that is. We've got all that and a lot more coming up on today's Locked On Islanders podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by your friends at FanDuel. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Because right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win that first $5 bet. FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL, all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you could check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more, all on the same page where you place your bets. And Islander fans, use your knowledge of the Islanders in the game of hockey to make some exciting bets on FanDuel. Check out all the odds for the Islanders and Seattle Kraken coming up on Thursday. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. So, as I said, The Athletic ranked all 32 NHL teams based on the cap. And what is the team's cap situation going forward? Now, remember, next year, the cap could go up by as much as $9 million, which is huge. And again, how the Islanders will use that money is going to be a big, big deal. And the rankings are based, according to the article in The Athletic, how much cap flexibility each team has going forward, their spending efficiency, and a lack of dead money, as well as the quality of the roster that they all have already in place. So the top 5, the teams that had the best cap situation, and no surprise, these teams are all contending teams. Number 5, the Dallas Stars. Number 4, the defending Stanley Cup champion Florida Panthers. Number 3, the Colorado Avalanche. Number 2, the Winnipeg Jets. And number 1, unfortunately, for the Islanders, the division rival Carolina Hurricanes. Those are your top 5. Now let's take a look at the bottom 5. And again, if you're wondering where the Islanders are on this list, I'm interested in your guesses. Here are the bottom 5. At number 28, the Nashville Predators. A team that, doesn't have a lot of cap space and has a lot of veterans and is still struggling after a lot of additions. 29, the Pittsburgh Penguins. No surprise there. The Seattle Kraken, the Islanders' opponent on Thursday, they are 30th. At 31, the St. Louis Blues. And bringing up the rear, last in the league, our New York Islanders, 32nd in the league. Now, the Islanders, according to the article, have committed $67 million to salaries. They have an estimated $18 million to pay their RFAs. The UFAs are Brock Nelson and Kyle Palmieri, and they are projected to have about $9 million in cap space as of right now. And, the statement about the team, is it time for a change at the top? That's the biggest decision the Islanders have to make. The Islanders have one of the worst records in the league and are third to last in goals per game. They're brutal on the power play and the penalty kill. Their pricey goaltending tandem is producing close to league average results, and they also have one of the NHL's oldest rosters and are committed with term to some of their worst overpayments. They have tough RFA calls to make, led by Noah Dobson. Their top 2 scorers, who are on 2 of the organization's better contracts, are about to go UFA, unrestricted free agent, and land huge paydays. I'm not sure that $9 million in cap space is going to be enough to right the ship here. Everydayers, you have heard me talk throughout the last year or 2 about the poor job that Lou Lamoriello has done managing the cap. The fact that guys like Anders Lee and J.G. Pageau, who last year combined to cost the Islanders $12 million in cap hits and combined to score 31 goals. Now, both of them are playing a little better this year, but is Anders Lee producing even at this great moment where he's played well this year? Is he earning a $7 million cap hit? No. And I like Anders Lee, and I want him to do well. And I like the way he's playing right now. But $7 million for Anders Lee? Overpaid. J.G. Pageau, $5 million a year. Also overpaid. Pageau, on pace for about 15, 16 goals and maybe 33 points, 33, 34 points on the season. Yeah, he's really good in the face-off circle. Yeah, he can kill penalties. Yeah, he's a good checking forward. But again, not worth what he's getting paid. So many other guys are just not producing based on their salaries. The team is older. This team, unfortunately, Lou Lamoriello, who I respect, who is in the Hall of Fame for a reason, but he doesn't seem to have a good grasp of how to manage the cap. The Islanders are again dealing with a 22-man roster because of cap space. The Islanders do not have any NHL-ready prospects who they can call up and who are ready to step up and step in to this lineup and produce at a high level in the NHL. They have a few guys who would project as fourth line guys or 13th or 14th forwards or 6th or 7th defensemen. But impact players, Cole Yzerman is still a couple of years away, and he's the closest thing they have right now to a potential impact player. I understand being in the bottom half, especially if you're winning or if you've been winning, but what Lou Lamoriello continues to do and why this team is ranked last by The Athletic in cap efficiency is he takes a core, an aging core of veterans who have not won a playoff series in the last 3 seasons. This is the 4th year where they're trying to break that slump. And where the best they do is barely make the playoffs or they just barely miss the playoffs. He keeps doubling down on that core, keeps saying, I believe in that core, and brings them back as they get older, as they get a little slower, as the value that you could get back for them in a trade becomes lower. In short, Lou Lamoriello has mismanaged the salary cap for the New York Islanders really badly. That's why they rank at the bottom of the league in this category. And it's why that if this team really wants to get out of the muddy middle and really contend for a Stanley Cup, a retool at the very least is needed. And the team, as you know, needs to get younger, faster, and more skilled. And they need to do that. You need to trade away some of these bad contracts, free up some cap space, accumulate picks and prospects. You don't have to be at the bottom of the standings and be terrible necessarily, but you've got to get some more speed. We saw it in the overtime, and we see it in the overtime all the time. They can't keep up. They can't keep up. It is time to get this team revitalized with hope for the future instead of sacrificing to try to win 7th or 8th place in the conference and just being stuck in neutral. And I hope the Islanders will make some changes soon. We have got more to get to on today's show. We have our weekly farm report on all things Bridgeport Islanders, plus our Islanders birthday of the day. All that and more coming up on today's Locked On Islanders podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by your friends at Prize Picks. You can now win up to 100 times your money on Prize Picks with as little as 4 correct picks. Prize Picks is the best place to get real money sports action. Join over 10 million users and sign up today. Prize Picks puts their members first, so all withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. And when my picks hit, I can get my money in as quick as 15 minutes. What you have to do basically is decide whether or not players will exceed or be lower than their Prize Picks projections. So Jack Hughes for more than 4 shots on goal, or Tammy Panarin for more than 1 assist. That is an example of how you can handle the bets on Prize Picks. So download the app today. Use code LOCKEDONNHL. You'll get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Again, download the app. Use code LOCKEDONNHL. You'll get $50 instantly after you play that first $5 lineup, win or lose. Prize Picks, run your game. Thank you for making Locked On Islanders your first listen today. For your second listen, find Locked On Fantasy Hockey. Become a fantasy hockey expert and get the edge over your league mates with daily tips from Steal and Flip. Find Locked On Fantasy Hockey on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. It's part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Time now for our weekly farm report on all things Bridgeport Islanders. Couple of games over Thanksgiving weekend for the Islanders and not the results they were hoping for. Started out on Saturday with a 2-0 shutout loss to the Bellevue Senators, and a strong performance by Marcus Hogberg in this game, but it wasn't quite enough. A shutout for Levi Merilainen for Belleville, and unfortunately, the 33 saves for Hogberg, not enough as the Islanders fall. Now, the next night, they meet again against the Belleville Senators, and once again, they fall short 3-2 this time. 33 saves for Jakob Skarek in this game. Liam Foudy and Travis Mitchell get the goals. But just like the big club, Bridgeport, with a 2-1 lead with less than 9 minutes left in the third period, they allow a power play goal and then a deflection, and Belleville takes a 3-2 win over the Islanders. So an 0-2 week for the Bridgeport Islanders. Right now, they stand in 8th place in the Atlantic Division. They are 5-12, 1-2. So 13 points in 20 games. That's 5 points behind the 7th place Providence Bruins in the Atlantic Division. As far as the points leaders, Brian Pinault, he leads the team with 11 goals and 17 points. Chris Terry right behind him with 15 points. Only one of those is a goal. Frederick Karlstrom has 8 goals and 10 points. Liam Foudy, 4 goals and 10 points. Alex Jeffries, 3 goals and 10 points. As far as some of the prospects that people are always interested in, Matthew Maggio, 1 goal, 7 points in 18 games. William Dufour, 2 goals, 4 points in 17 games. And if you're wondering who the top scoring defenseman is, it is still Samuel Bolduc. He has 3 goals and 8 points in 20 games. The schedule this week for Bridgeport, well, they will play tonight, Wednesday at 7 o'clock Eastern Time, a home game against the Hartford Wolfpack. Then Friday, they will travel to Springfield to take on the Springfield Thunderbirds. That's a 7:05 start. And another 7:05 start on Saturday in Providence against the Providence Bruins. You can watch all those games on AHL TV. And if you want to see some of the Islanders' future players play right now, you can head on over to Bridgeport and check out the latest. Hopefully, Bridgeport can get on a little bit of a roll. They have struggled again this season. Time now for our Islanders' birthday of the day. I think this was a pretty easy one. But basically, Monday was the 49th birthday of former Islanders winger Brett Lindros. Lindros, the 9th overall pick in the 1994 draft, 6'4", 210 pounds, going to be a power forward. Unfortunately, injuries cut his NHL career short. He only played in 51 games over 2 seasons, had 2 goals, 7 points, and 147 penalty minutes. Yeah, he had 100 penalty minutes in just 33 games as a rookie, but injuries cutting short the London, Ontario's native's career, and it all kind of ended without, realizing that potential. His best game as an Islander, well, let's go to March 7th, 1995. Cue up Brass Bonanza. Islanders hosting the Hartford Whalers in this game. at the Nassau Coliseum. Sean Burke, the goalie for Hartford, Jamie McLennan for the Islanders. And after Derek King made it 1-0 Islanders and Andre Nicolishin tied it for the Whalers in the second period, our Islanders' birthday of the day, Brett Lindros, scores his first goal of the season and the first goal of his NHL career. It was unassisted, and it ends up being the game winner. Benoit Hogue puts in an empty netter. Islanders beat the Whalers 3-1. Jamie McLennan with 23 saves. But for Brett Lindros, our Islanders' birthday of the day, he had a goal. He scored at even strength. It was the game winner, and it came on his only shot. It was his first of 2 career NHL goals. Brett Lindros, one of the great what-ifs in Islanders history. He is our Islanders' birthday of the day. If you have a question, a comment, maybe a topic you'd like us to discuss on a future show, you could email us at lockedonislanders@gmail.com. If you leave your first name and where you're from, we're happy to mention you on the show when we discuss whatever's on your mind. You could also follow the show on X at Locked On Isles, and you could follow me, Gil Martin, on X at Ice Wars, NYR_VSNYI. We'll keep you up to date on all things Islanders all year long, and I am live tweeting during nearly every Islanders home and road game. Everydayers will be back tomorrow. We'll have a special crossover episode along with Erica L. Ayala of Locked On Kraken, so we'll do our best to preview Thursday's game against Seattle. Not an opponent we see all that often, so special crossover episode coming tomorrow, so look for that. Until then, have a great day, everybody. Stay safe, and of course, let's go Islanders.